some strong emotions vented today in Los Angeles as anger increases over a disturbing allegation that in the 1980s, the CIA knowingly permitted black neighborhoods to be flooded with crack cocaine.
Many people have heard of the crack epidemic in the 1980s. Many know that black people were heavily involved with the drug. What people often fail to realize, however, is how crack found its way into black communities in the first place and just how devastating their effects were. In 1996, journalist Gary Webb came out with his newspaper series, Darker Lines, detailing how the CIA helped to distribute the cocaine that was used to make crack in Los Angeles and that the profits were used to fund the Nicaraguan Contra. Although they did not personally deliver the drugs themselves, the government turned a blind eye while the dangerous substance made its way into the city and began to wreak havoc on black communities.
The government needed this money to fight this war over in Nicaragua. I believe that they felt it was more valuable to sacrifice a particular sector of America and a race of people in America in order to save the whole country.
Because of the CIA's scheme, crack spread like wildfire through the black communities of Los Angeles. Because it was the easiest way to make money in a poverty-stricken area where school systems often left students with little motivation and few opportunities, selling crack was the easiest thing to do at the time.
You are a teenager and perhaps barely that. You live in an inner city ghetto. You probably have dropped out of school. And you have a chance to earn $1,000 a week selling crack. What do? You sell crack.
You see dudes, they get rich hecka fast. They have flashy cars, hecka beats, big fat ropes, all the girls. And you be like, yeah, I want that too.
Crack cocaine used to empower homies like us as jobs, like McDonald's. From 9 to 5, that was your shift. Or you go and you work the dope house. That's what you did. Your mother knew you did it, your grandmother, your kids, and they would come by and get lunch money after school.
When your family's eating, when you got a roof over your head, you got a car to take you from A to B, and you got $5 grand in your pocket, it's hard to justify not doing it.
Say 22, I say 23, okay, then we all crack babies. Damn, why'd you say that?
The more crack spread through the city, the more people became addicted. Crack took its toll on black families. Parents often left their children to fend for themselves while they turned to their addiction. Children grew up broke, hungry, and homeless while they watched their community deteriorate.
The only thought was to get more money, to get more of it, because you never got enough.
All you're trying to do is catch the first high that you received. It's like you're chasing something that you never catch up with.
Just chase that one hit, just chase it all night. Then the nights turn into days, and then weeks. Then you start hawking off stuff, selling stuff.
I used to mess around with guys just to get money. Prostituting myself, oh my God, I didn't like it. But I did it because I had a problem.
You could sit around a room of kids and say, how many of y'all actually got raised by your parents? And they all gonna sit there and go, not me. My daddy went to jail, my daddy got murdered, my mother was on crack.
When it reached Los Angeles, cocaine went from a drug primarily used by rich white elites to one mostly sought after in the black communities because it was made into a cheaper and more easily produced powder form, known as crack. In their efforts to fight the war on drugs, the government initiated the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act, mandating that in terms of federal criminal penalties, 1 gram of crack equaled 100 grams of cocaine. This meant much longer prison sentences for those caught with crack as opposed to those caught with cocaine. Since a majority of crack users were black and a majority of cocaine users were white, it seemed that these stricter consequences were set to target African Americans. Thus began the era of mass incarceration, specifically the mass incarceration of the black man.
Drug dealing has reached epidemic proportions among young black men here.
Our television sets were saturated with images of, black men in handcuffs.
It fed into the worst fears that people had, not just about the drug, but about who the drug was associated with.
The idea of a threat coming from Black America relative to crack cocaine was to create a sort of massive hysteria. Crack cocaine was used as an excuse to justify this militarization of the police force.
Today, While the severity of the crack epidemic has subsided, Black communities are still left to deal with its aftermath. Many families still struggle with addiction, the war on drugs still persists, and the police's targeting of racial minorities continues to be a problem. The prison population is as high in the country as it has ever been, and it is disproportionately Black. However, an ounce of hope arose in 2010 when President Barack Obama signed a major law reforming the 1986 disparity between prison sentences for crack cocaine versus powder cocaine, reducing sanctions from 100-to-1 to 18-to-1.
Yesterday, we took an important step forward when Congress passed a fair sentencing bill that I look forward to signing into law. A bipartisan bill to help right a long-standing wrong by narrowing sentencing disparities between those convicted of crack cocaine and powder cocaine. It's the right thing to do.
There's still a lot of work to be done to fight the prejudice of the war on drugs. However, South Central and places like it continue to rebuild their Black communities, although they are left with the scars of decades past. Many families who were once affected by crack can now find solace in one of many community organizations of the city aimed at fighting drug abuse. They may never be rid of their troubles caused by the injustices of the crack epidemic, but that does not stop them in continuing to fight for a more positive future.
Search for me, my brother get popped, and don't know I'd hear the sound, don't know I'd hear the rounds, ooh, sound, don't know I'd hear the shouts, ooh, shouts, don't know I'd hear the sound.